Hello everyone, welcome to the show. Let's get right into it. The episode opens up with detective crew members. Ralph, Eunice, Howie, and his sidekick, Alec. I kinda liked this character, Alec, and enjoy the TV shows that he has appeared in the past. But so far, he has only played a very minor role. We learned that PI Holly has wrapped up her investigation in NYC, and she was able to confirm that the same experience between Maria Kennels, who is still alive, Heath Hofstad, the hospital nurse who was charged to take care of Terry's dad, Pete, and Terry Malin himself. Holly is heading back to Dayton to take another look with educated eyes. Knowing that the presence of El Cuco and the experience of Maria and Heath Hofstad. The episode then cuts to Detective Ralph's wife, Ginny. We learn that she is some kind of social worker slash counselor. However, we had a bit of a scare as we saw one of her patients in the waiting room wearing that green hood resembling the appearance of human figure that Al Cuco takes form of in the past. It turns out that it was just some average patient who happened to have worn a green hood on the day. However, it was kind of interesting to see that Jeannie seems to know what she was looking for, as she was immediately drawn to the green hooded guy when she stepped out of her office. Initially, maybe Al Cuco was able to inject some of the upcoming encounter into her dream. Who knows? Later on in the day, after the Petersons returned home from a full day of work, we got to learn from a flashback that around the time when their son Derek passed away, Jeannie got hit especially hard, as she would often sleep in bed with full clothes on for the majority of the day, not wanting to step outside of the house. And we see that she is still struggling to recover from that experience to a lesser extent. Then on one early morning, the episode showed Jeannie had a face-to-face encounter with Al Cuco in her house, in very much the same way as one of Terry's daughter did that we saw earlier in the season. Al Cuco commands such a presence that she didn't even realize that she was walking on broken glasses, as she was too scared to move. You guessed it, she was instructed to tell Ralph to stop investigating the case further, or both of them will die. And so did Ginny. Later that afternoon, she told Ralph just that, although she wasn't too scared about the death threat. As we see later, she offered to sketch out the ghostly figure she had a face-to-face encounter with in her house. Holly, the beloved PI, we saw her back in Dayton talking with the bartender Sky. It seems that her thoughts really flow well discussing the case with Sky. She offered $200 to Sky to drive around to visit a few places, such as cemetery. She visits the cemetery where the two murdered young kids by Heath are buried. She is seen retracing the steps of Al Cuco. Looking around the cemetery, she discovers abandoned house around. She took some pictures of it for comparison later. Next, we saw Sky drove her to where Heath Hofstad was buried. Again, she took a picture around and outside of the cemetery. There was some kind of derelict factory there. She was inspired to communicate what she has discovered so far with Ralph on the phone. She called Ralph and she recommended Ralph to take a picture of the surrounding of the cemetery where Terry Maitland is currently buried. The two ended the conversation agreeing to discuss more about what Holly has found out so far back in town with the rest of the case stakeholders. Holly, while still in the cemetery, ran into this guy Tracy, who apparently was the actual person who killed the two kids that Heath was accused of killing. The Tracy guy had already committed a murder for El Cuco, but yet he's not free. Tracy told Holly that El Cuco has screwed over him and Heath, both very bad. Puzzled by what Ginny has sketched, Detective Ralph wanted to chat with Eunice to find out what he thinks of the possibility that Ginny has met with the same guy that the foster home car theft kid had met before. Ralph seems to doubt this fact and consider it as a dream, but Eunice told Ralph that dreams are messages oftentimes. While visiting Terry's grave, they realized that the burial ground is actually right next to the barn where Maitland's clothes was last found. We have ignored Detective Jack Hoskins so far, but he is still around, running around trying to figure out what had happened to him. He blew off Ralph in Tamika's house party gathering. He told Tamika to back off for her own sake. He seems to have realized whatever is happening or will happen to him can't possibly be good. He was seen later having a normal conversation with Ralph, asking to join his investigation team. This is probably because he is working under Al Cuco's instruction to be a mole within his team, and when time is right, he can go into action carrying out Al Cuco's demand. Holly, knowing that she is leaving Dayton soon, had a last encounter with her secret admirer, Andy, the security guy, in her hotel room. While discussing about a case that she worked on in the past, Holly realized that Tracy, who she saw at the cemetery, paid a visit to Heath's house and left something on Heath's bed, potentially out of remorse for what he has done. While she didn't realize at the time it was Tracy who came by, but she did realize that someone did come by the house recently. In a quick dream sequence in Tamika's house, we learned that Al Cuco is affecting everybody around Detective Ralph, as she apparently had a scary encounter with Al Cuco in her dream, involving her baby. Remember, dreams are messages often, said Eunice. So it would be interesting to see what role will Tamika play in the rest of the season. In the end, we saw Tracy, the guy who actually committed the murders that Heath was accused of, basically committed suicide by cops, which we learned from the little trailer at the end of the episode that death is often the only way to break the hold that Al Cuco has over you. Andy, the technology guy, was seen studying the note left from Holly's hotel room. Holly apparently figured out some pattern for the numbers of days between this type of child murders case taking place. The number of days in between seemed decreasing over the recent period, and she was wondering what will happen next in less than 20 days. Now we know the people who El Cuco has a holdover and is still alive. They are either Jack Hoskin, the detective, or the strip club owner, Bolton. Jack is a mole put into Ralph's investigation team at this point by El Cuco, so it's unlikely to be him. So will it be Bolton, the strip club owner, next? We will see. If you stayed for the ending trailer, you will find that we have a ending video packed with information. So go watch it again if you are wondering what will happen in the next episode so bad. But one thing is clear, that Holly's explanation about the evil force, El Cuco, has met with resistance from Terry's wife and Detective Ralph himself, as they both question the sanity of her suggestions for the case. We then see Holly went back to NYC to visit the lady who had told her about El Cuco, the devil. This time, she brought Detective Ralph along. But as we see from this cutscene, that she is likely already gone, as being disappeared by El Cuco himself for speaking out about him to Holly. So sadly, it's unlikely that we will see that El Cuco lady again in the show. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe to support this channel. See you in the next episode. Thank you.